Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every week for our latest episode. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today we're talking to Tanja Beutler. Tanja is with the Cape Town Wine Hub, and she's taken the time to come and speak to us. Welcome, Tanja, and to About the Winelands.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It's awesome to be able to speak in this kind of platform, quite different.
Yes. So, Tanja, I'd love to know more about you and how did you get involved in the wine industry?
Sure, that's an interesting story. I never studied wine, I actually studied psychology, and I landed up, well, I was at Stellenbosch University, and I suppose our introduction to wine was always as a student in Stellenbosch. But I wasn't that involved in doing the wine route with friends or anything like that. So my real love for wine started in California, believe it or not. I had a friend of mine who was living over there. I went to go and visit him, and he spent his weekends training for triathlon. So I spent my weekends with friends in the winelands. So we did Napa, Sonoma, Monterey, that kind of area. And that's where I fell in love with wine. So yeah, and then when I got back to South Africa, I applied for a job at the Lima, and yeah, so I worked cellar door sales, and then from there I worked at Rustenburg Wines as a PRO for the Western Cape and Southern Cape up to PE, and then after that I started my own business with Clive Tour. So we had Topaz Wines. We also formed the Garage East movement of South Africa in about 2002. Yeah, and then the journey continued that Topaz is no longer, and I went on my own in consulting in the wine industry. And then finally, we're sitting now at Cape Town Wine Hub as my third wine business.
Oh, that's amazing. So I just wanted to ask you I mean, we have such a wonderful wine tourism industry in Cape Town, and how do you think that compares with Napa and the wine tourism industry in the US?
Yeah, it's a long time back. So we're talking we're talking about 94, 95, 96 that I was over there. So it is a long time back, but I think yeah, they also have an amazing, tourism industry there. Very approachable, very lots of activities. And I think we really do have something super special, being near to Cape Town. Very similar in a lot of ways, but also so different. We live in a country that's called the Rainbow Nation for a reason, and I think we are so diverse, even in our own wine industry, that it's yeah, you can't really compare. I think we're so much more dynamic, and there's so much more activity and fun things to do in our tourism in the Western Cape in the winelands.
Oh, that's awesome. We certainly have a rainbow of wine brands, so that's for sure.
That's for sure. The platter gets thicker and thicker every year, that's for sure. And that's awesome because there's a wine for everyone.
No, that's true. The Cape Town Wine Hub. So, can you tell us a bit more about the history and how this started and the idea of the Cape Town Wine Hub?
Okay, so I've done basically everything in wine from making my own to selling it to, I don't know, educating on it, etc. So for me, I just wanted that one place where, as a producer, you can go and get the help you need or the services you require. Also, having been a garagist and made wine on small scale, it was very tough to find people who would be able or willing to help the little guys. And I always say, small fish becomes a big fish, so everybody counts. So Cape Town Wine Hub basically started accidentally 2.5 years ago. I was busy consulting for a winery in Elgin, and we used Duo Transport for transport of all our orders to the harbour at the time. And the owner of Duo Transport was Flagan, who came to me and said, "No, what do you think about opening a warehouse for wine?" And I said, "Yeah, that's cool. I'd love to. It's been in my mind for a long time, but it's got to be bonded." And he went, "What's bonded?" So at that point in time, it was kind of a match made because he understood the logistics side. I come from the more the wine administration and red tape side. And that's where Cape Town Wine Hub started in 2017. So yeah, so the ideas were the same. And for me, it's really called the hub for the simple reason that, we offer services to the industry, and it really takes us a lot to say, no, we can't help you. And if we get to that point, we'll definitely find somebody who can.
Oh, awesome. Can you give us a few examples of the products and the services that you offer?
Okay, so the main part of our business is bonded storage. So we have a bonded warehouse currently for wine. We have done applications for imported stock and also for bottling and storage of spirits. So hopefully those will be coming through soon. So storage is our main part, but obviously linked to that, we do bottling, we do labeling, we do reworks, so all those export stickers that you need to stick on, or award stickers, which come all through the year. We do distribution, so we've got our own truck, and distribution is local and national. We do waxing for the smaller guys who want something special, some special finish on their bottles. We've also got a retail consortium where we have representation into the main supermarkets in South Africa and also in the SADC regions. The other thing we also do is wine administration to smaller producers who just can't face dealing with excise and service and stock control and all the documentation. We offer that service as well. And then and obviously exports, we load containers from here. Yeah, and any kind of service that the wine industry might need. We also now going on to an online shop, both to the consumer and business to business. And then the one part that I brought into the business that we haven't focused on totally yet is wine education. So that'll also be coming forth in the next couple of months.
Wow, that's actually quite a bouquet of services. So, if I'm a producer and I'm sitting out there and I want to work with you, how do I approach you and what are the requirements?
It's super simple. You pick up the phone and phone me. Or you can email info at Cape Town Wine Hub. That's also .com. That's also an option. But yeah, we'll just take you through the process. Look, every client has a different need. And one thing I can also say is that, we do storage, but we'll never lock anybody into a time frame of being with us or having to use us is the first thing. And then yeah, and then secondly, nobody has to make use of all our services. We offer a bouquet of services, but it's up to you what works for you that you use from us. So we have other couriers also arrive here, even though we offer the same service. And that really doesn't matter. It's just what suits the client, our client best. And that's what they make use of.
Well, that's awesome. So, tell me a little bit more about your the plans for your online shop that you're having. Will this only be for wine? Will this be for other stuff? You also mentioned direct to consumer, but also direct to business.
Yeah, so what we're looking at is we want, there are a lot of online platforms for buying wine. We want to do things slightly differently. I've had a lot of experience also tasting on tasting panels, etc. Lucky me. I've tasted some of the greatest wines in the world. Lucky me too. And so I really want to do a online shop which has more bespoke, unknown brands, we're also looking at putting certain packages together for different events that people might want to have. So that's direct to consumer. And then business to business, we've realized that often, and I've known it from my own experience, like having made wine, you have to send those 3 sample bottles to Europe with DHL, and now you're wondering where you're going to get the polystyrene to put in the box, that specific box to protect the wine. It's those little things that, you run out of, or you just need a small amount of that you can't, you don't want to buy 25 cartons, you just need one, for sending samples. So that's kind of what we're putting in place this year for business to business online.
Oh, that's very interesting. I think that's very helpful as well. Um, and what about you just mentioned that do you do bottling or canning or any of these things?
We do bottling and labeling and canning. We do all of that, but we don't have the machines ourselves. We actually source in with our preferred suppliers on that. So we've done bottling, labeling. We do a lot of labeling actually. With bottling, we haven't done canning. I have to be honest. We've spoken to them, but it's definitely a possibility to do canning here. We know the canning guys quite well. Um, so basically, in that situation, the wine gets bottled, labeled, or canned here, and then mostly stored here. And then from there, we do the reworks on that, the exports, the distribution out. So it's kind of a turnkey solution from A to Z of a product. So yeah, but we source out. The whole thing about Cape Town Wine Hub is that we can't be good at everything. So we source out where we don't do direct. We don't do bottling and labeling directly, but we source out to people that we've got 100% confidence in.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're really providing a lot of stuff that people will need to get their wine to the consumer eventually, which is fantastic.
Exactly.
Um,
In the best
are you
possible shape.
in the best possible shape? I also suppose,
Yeah.
yeah, and condition, right? Like you said, the thing with wine
Yeah.
is obviously to keep it at the right temperature and all of those things.
Exactly. We just to explain, we've got 2 warehouses. One is for storage, which is insulated. It's not cooled, but it keeps a constant temperature. A very little footprint through that warehouse. Then we've got a second one that's actually 100% only for production. So in other words, all the activity will happen in the other warehouse. So the wines will be brought across from the storage to the production side, where we do reworks, bottling, labeling, distribution. That's where all the activity happens, which is right at the office.
Oh, that's awesome. So your long-term vision for the Cape Town Wine Hub, what are your plans?
Sure. We have big plans, but yeah, they're still very much in infancy stage. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on that, but just watch the space. We're definitely growing and want to be there to support our South African industry that's taken a big knock. And yeah, just do what we can to get all producers, wine producers, the industry back on their feet.
Well, talking about the big knock is obviously the whole coronavirus issue, and everything around the coronavirus has basically forced all of us to relook at our business models and to make changes. So, do you have any changes or new ideas in mind stemming from Corona?
Look, the COVID for us was, yeah. Look, we had wines in the warehouse, which helped, but obviously distribution wasn't happening. We were stuck with exports, and then obviously from our perspective, the distribution straight after lockdown was huge pressure. But we did manage to get it just about 100% right and out on time. So for us, I think the main thing that we've learned from COVID is the incredible impact it's had on an industry that we love and that we support. And so what we've decided to do is actually so often in the industry, you see the winemakers and you see the owners. But, during COVID, I think there were a lot of people who took strain and people who, were just fighting the fight behind the scenes. And so often in a winery, there are those people, I always say it's like a duck with the feet paddling like crazy and calm on top. So those people with the feet paddling like crazy are the ones that we want to kind of honor because, they've had to fight for their positions and keep their jobs if they could. So we've actually decided as a business to launch a competition, which will probably launch on Monday for a month. So we're running a competition where the prize is a 2,500 take a lot voucher for those people, and it's specifically aimed at the wine industry and specifically at those people who are working behind the scenes to make things happen, to get exports out, to get the logistics done, to just work extra hours once COVID had lifted for us as the industry, once, twice, three times, and made things happen in a very short period of time. So we just want to put something out there to almost honor those people who have been working hard behind the scenes to just keep our industry afloat. So yeah, so if you want to look out for that competition, you can like our Facebook page, which is Cape Town Wine Hub. And that'll be all over social media from next week for a month. But it's specifically aimed at those people behind the scenes in the industry.
That's awesome because I think you're right. Those people need some honoring, and we will also be sharing it on all our social media channels. So that is fantastic. So everyone listening should be looking out for that. But
Yeah, thanks for that.
no, that is a pleasure. I mean, the more people actually can give back to the industry, the more it helps, right? We all
Yeah, and
want to.
I think a lot of people. Yeah, I think our industry is a special place. I've been there for 27 years already, and it's a special place, and it's changed a lot, and it's gone through different waves and different times. And I just think, we don't look enough at the people behind the scenes just making things happen, that the day to day, getting the wines out onto the shelf, getting it off the farm, getting it overseas, doing the marketing, repping on the road. It's those people are actually the ones that keep that wheel turning more than most others, and I think it's time we honored them too.
Well, it's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing something in this regard. So that's fantastic. Just so back to the changes that you mentioned. I think one of the big changes that we've seen is this whole issue of direct to consumer. And I mean, this is obviously you in the heart of that as well. Do you think that is a trend that's going to grow online sales and direct deliveries to consumer?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, look, I even see it in my own life how I've started to buy most things online. It's just so much easier and so much safer. So I think that's definitely the way to go. There've been a whole lot of how can I say, a whole lot of um, documents, etc., that have been sent out regarding doing e-commerce worldwide with wine. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and something we really mustn't miss. Um, South Africa has always been social and face to face. So I think COVID was really tough for a lot of us who, love to care and have a braai and have a glass of wine. Um, so it's a different kind of mindset, but I think we'll always have that specialness in the wines and the wine industry that makes South Africa who it is. My mom's from Europe, and she always says, the thing is about South Africa as a European. Once you get here, there's something in the air, the soil, or whatever that filters through your blood, and you just can't leave. So it's that kind of thing that we'll never get rid of, but through e-commerce. But I think there's a huge platform to go international as well, much easier than we are currently with e-commerce.
I think one of the big thing about e-commerce is, I mean, if you look at Amazon has grown and stuff like that, people actually still go out to shops, but the actual ease of delivery, the trust issues, and the fastness of which Amazon does it is actually, made it so that people would actually go out and do window shopping almost at shops, and then but still get their stuff delivered at home because it's much easier than carrying it around. And also if you're ordering wine, a lot of wine, it's actually easy to get it delivered. The question is that I have is a lot of frustration from customers is they want to buy online, and there's two things that really, you know, is one is obviously the trust of the online retailer, which I think is being solved by people in the front end. But then in the back end is how long I'm going to wait for my wine and the frustration when people have when it's not delivered. Do you think the industry is maturing, and how are you specifically solving those problems?
Yeah, I think I can understand that frustration. Look, with us, because in a sense we're neutral within the industry, we have a choice of who we use for what. So we do use third parties for our distribution as well. A lot of it we do ourselves, but we use third parties. And I can honestly say it's taken us a year and a half to find good third party partners. So we're definitely looking into that in more detail. And I think from next week on, we'll have the preferred party that we're working with, and that'll be fast and efficient. You see, the biggest problem I think with distribution in South Africa is that most of the distributors don't focus just on wine, they focus on distributing everything. And
Mm.
wine is a very unique product to be distributing. So, and yeah, so that is locally. I think with overseas e-commerce, I had an interesting, I had, there was a Zoom call with uh, bartenders who part of Amazon, and they want to launch a platform for South African wine on Amazon. So that's also an interesting possibility for the wine industry to get into e-commerce with a very trusted backing.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. So Tanya, it seems like I mean your wine journey has been quite interesting and diverse. But what is the most important thing that you've learned from your wine journey?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's still there. Well, there are two things. I think the big thing is that slowly but surely, I think South Africa is starting to work together much more than they did 20 years ago as an industry. Um, and that's exciting to see because I think we really have huge potential in our products and our offerings to local and international clients. And secondly, one thing I've always learned is that wherever there's wine, there are happy people. So, and that makes the wine industry always a fun place to be. And I just love being part of it for the last 27 years.
Awesome. Now, for the question I ask everybody is your favorite wine quote, if or your own wine quote if you have one. Otherwise, you need to steal one.
Okay, I don't know if it's stolen or not, but it's one thing that we put on our back labels when I still made topaz wines. And basically, the quote went like this: "So don't wait for a special occasion to drink great wine. Open the wine and make the occasion." I always think people hold on to wines forever for a special occasion, and then, life's too short. So especially after this COVID scenario and the fact that we've lost people close to us, etc. Don't wait for that special occasion. Just open the wine and it makes the occasion.
So drink in the now.
Yeah, exactly. And our wines are made in that style now too. There are wines, obviously, you can sell it beautifully, but generally speaking, I always say, it just might be that you waited a bit long and the wine's then oxidized or not as good as it was. So, when you tasted it, well, I have the problem I don't actually sell much wine. Um, but yeah, I just think open the wine and make the occasion, and then just choose the special people you want to share that wine with.
Oh, that's awesome. And if people want to get hold of you or the Cape Town Wine Up, where do they find you?
Okay, so we're based in the Strand, in Fabric Street, just off the N2, which is nice and central for harbors and airports, etc. So if they want to get hold of me, they can definitely contact me on my mobile number, which is 082 056 8825, or they can email info@capetownwinehub.com.
That's awesome. Do you want to tell us again about this giveaway competition you're going to have?
Yeah, so the competition we're launching on Monday, which is basically on all social media platforms. So it's basically like our page, and then mention the farm that you work for behind the scenes. So it's specifically aimed at those people working behind the scenes, making things happen, making the South African wine industry wheel turn. And yeah, and then basically the prize is a 2,500 take a lot gift voucher. We thought of putting other prizes forward, but I think right now people have different needs after what we've just been through. So I think Take a Lot is a good platform to put forward as a prize.
This is Tanja Beutler from the Cape Town Wine Up. Tanja, thank you so much for speaking to us, taking the time. I know you're busy, but I think our listeners will find this very interesting.
Yeah, thank you. And it's an absolute pleasure. And yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Ciao.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.